What's up, guys? Welcome to the Linecheck podcast. It's me, Brennan, your host, and today I'm here with the owners of Troubadour Bread and Quail and Condor. How's it going, guys?
So good. Just stepped off a plane, drank 2 beers.
Oh, you want to put the mic closer?
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to say it again?
No, you can. We're good. You're good. All right. So, welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing today?
So good. It's just pretty cool how we even found out about the podcast. And
How did you find out about the podcast?
so my friend George, who I worked with at Venice or at Justa in Venice, he has a
A zine.
small magazine called Parivar, and I remember him just always writing these, small just a little thing of poetry on these guest checks. And I was, pregnant with our kid and whatever, and then I just see him on, while I'm just doom scrolling, and I'm like, what is this? And I just started listening, and I'm like, I would love to be on that.
That's awesome. It's right behind you.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Parivar. No, the top.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah, 3.
Ideally,
That's
number
awesome.
5.
I don't remember what episode that is, but you guys can all scroll, and find it. But yeah, George Absher, Parivar, great. Zine talks about other restaurants all over the country and does photography and then writes in a guest check. It's awesome. Highlights, restaurant workers and chefs and business owners. Awesome. Just like we do, just in a zine. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and who you are and what you guys do?
Yeah. Quail and Condor was born first, honestly, as like a word of mouth project over Instagram of like, I just wanted to bake at home while we had a young baby. And I'm like, I can't eat all this bread or cake. And so we're just kind of like, how do we get this out of here? And then Sean encouraged me to turn it into a farmer's market project. And then in COVID, we made it like a porch pickup project, which was just fucking nuts. And eventually, while walking around outside during COVID, we came across a brick and mortar space that has now become a 3-headed beast. And we just focus on sourdough and croissants and long ferment and pretty unique pastries.
Awesome.
And your name's Melissa? Yeah. My name's Sean. Sean Mcgaughey. We're coming from Healdsburg, so Sonoma County, California.
Mm-hmm. Right by Santa Rosa.
Yeah. Yeah,
I looked it up on the map before you guys came here. I did my research.
So we have Quail and Condor. That started 2020, and then it got really small really fast. So we started Troubadour.
Mm-hmm.
Troubadour is like it's called, I guess we call it Troubadour Bread and Bistro, but it starts in the morning and it's like boulangerie. So we bake sourdough, and it's like basically bread, pastries, espresso. And then it rolls into like a Parisian sandwich counter kind of thing, so the reason we opened was bakery got too small. So we tried to move the bread program out, and it was like, get to like, just like jam the bakers into some warehouse or something like that. And they never see the light of day. Or, we found this space that's like kind of right on the main street. But so then we had this bread next, like logical kind of thing is sandwiches.
Yeah.
So then started the sandwich program for about a year, and it was the hardest job of my life.
Why?
Well, I'm telling you, like, I've ran Michelin star kitchens and like all of this stuff, and the pressures are different when you like own the thing, but it was, the world has programmed customers to like really want a very specific sandwich and or just in my life in general. And so we were making these like 2-order kind of more, some warm, some cold, but very like curated sandwiches, whether it's like, there was like a warm pastrami that I didn't have enough cooler space to actually brine the meat. Like I did refrigerate it, but it was just like, if I wanted like 14 days, I got 10 days. If I want, all those challenges. And then on top of that, everybody wanted to like move stuff around and didn't quite understand the model. And
also like no substitutions was like, it, like people's ears were smoking.
Yeah, substitutions in general.
Mm-hmm.
Also super rough. And honestly, like I'm used to like the workers that we attracted were for a sandwich shop.
Mm-hmm.
So not like a high level kitchen. And not that it was like tough, like technical work, but I had to train like every single person, every single thing. So there was this night, this escalated super quickly here, but there was this night where
continue.
I had to bake, so I had to like bake one round of bread the night before to like get an early morning start kind of thing. And I happened to have put, like I put all the loaves on the loaders and then I put it into a deck that was off. And the bread was just like,
Can't lift it up.
So
It's in there.
it was just in there and dead.
Oh.
And it like, you know, it was only like 12, 15 loaves, something like that. But it just like spit me into this tailspin where I called Melissa and I'm like, that's it. I'm going to burn the whole place down. Like, I don't care. And we just built it. Like,
It was like 6 months.
6 months in.
So she's like, there's got to be like some way. And I was like, nope, I'm burning it down. Try and stop me.
Yeah.
But so then the way was to then add a dinner program.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to like sink my teeth into, back into like real cooking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, boulangerie into sandwiches and then into like French fine dining kind of, it's like both casual and super upscale at the same time, but it's like 20 seats.
Cool.
And it kind of delivers, hopefully, I mean, for me, it like at least like fills my plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus wanting to burn the whole place down. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So anyway, we have Quail and then we have Troubadour sandwiches and restaurant
And kids.
Yeah. Kids.
The restaurant is not just the kid, the actual kids.
Yeah. It's like running a daycare, both personally and career forward.
Honestly, I can't imagine having kids and having 2 businesses.
Everyone says we make it look really easy, but you know, we rely on the school system. We wouldn't know what we would be doing if we had free time anyway. I mean, we love when they come home from school. I'm usually done because I start at like 4 or 5 in the morning anyway. And I'm like, let's do art. Let's do whatever. But you're really good at getting them out of the house. So it's not a hard balancing act. It's actually when we get time together that, you know, is the sacrifice.
Yes. I've heard that.
So this like
lots of times.
7-hour drive tomorrow is going to be awesome.
That's good. That's good time together. So how was it opening both places like pretty close together? Like what was the time between those when you're like Quail and Condor and then going to Troubadour?
So Sean talks about this like reckoning moment for him. And I had this reckoning moment with you in the parking lot of Quail. It's when Luke walked out. And it was like, yes, Quail was like, still is, but was like a clown car. I mean, we were like a sardine can in there for how much we were prepping. And so
how small is the space? Like what's the square feet?
I think it's an odd shape. So that doesn't help. But I think the whole property, I think the whole property is 1,500, but that's the parking lot. And then, so yeah, it's like 1,000, but it's like this. So like
that's interesting.
Our joke, it's like this really trippy looking text, but it says corner, 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 corner. Cause it's just like, you have to say corner 1,000 times just to go from the front to the walk-in. So, opening Quail was really fun. It was like this great dream. We had 2 young kids who were like all in for the ride, and then they just got really opinionated at some point, and then it got really hard. But then you and I butted heads a lot because you were still working at Single Thread, and I was like, I don't really want this place to be in that fashion, but I wanted it to be elevated. So we were trying to figure out that balance. It's like, you know, how can we show that in the food and the care and all that? But, you know, I don't have time to poke a bunch of highway harvested pea shoots, you know, like as we would go to the side of the road and snip all this stuff. So then not only was it like bursting at the seams, but we had sometimes some leftover bread. And so Sean would take these and make like jambon au beurre, or like you would make the truffle and cheese sandwich. And so they would fly out of the window. So we're like, great. maybe we just move the bread production out, and then let's, make sandwiches out of that place. And maybe it's this 9-to-5 job that we can spend time with our families and whatever. But I actually think it's really hard to come out of that momentum of working in not only restaurants, but 3 Michelin star restaurants to then it's like a hard stop. And it's just like everybody needs transition into something. But like you join that type of cooking because it's a curiosity, and then you stick with it because you're like, oh, I'm actually good at this, and it feeds the soul in a certain way. And then when you come out of it, most likely you're not going to open a 3 Michelin star restaurant, but it's still a part of you in some way. So when we got to Troubadour, and then we transitioned into adding dinner, I think it fed our soul in a really good way. But I also think it's nice to have this his and hers relationship between the bakery and the restaurant. And, we're both pretty alpha in our own ways. And so it's like, we're really supportive of
When's
each
your
other.
guys' birthdays?
Oh, March 14th. And yours is January 7th.
Okay, I don't know anything about astrology.
Capricorn and Pisces. But yeah, I think if you're creative though, in some way you are an alpha because you're like, you're okay with creating and just being vulnerable, but you're like, this is what I've made because you trust yourself, right? It's like we have Ziggy, who's our younger child, who's not super alpha in any way. Like he's kind of happy to be in structure. And it's funny for us to watch him because in a family of 3 alphas, how do you watch the 4th one be beta, right? Honestly, looking at him is really or watching him grow up is kind of making me look at us, as leaders in our industry.
Amazing. So what would you, if you can give advice to anyone that's like a couple and wants to open a restaurant, what would you say that has been your guys' key to success on, having being together and also having a business, like how have you guys succeeded in making this work?
I think we're both really lucky. We're just to have found each other. Like we're super aligned in our values of our industry. And then we also like have pretty similar values and foundations for our personal lives. So we just see things the same. I think my biggest piece of advice though is having a clear like job description within each respected business, or if they're doing it together, it's like who's in charge of what. Because there was a point where we felt like we were just filling in the gaps for each other. And when those gaps weren't filled, it was like, why aren't you doing that? So I think figuring out what's in each person's jurisdiction was really helpful for us.
Yeah, honestly, the wheelhouse thing is like, yes, you have to play to your strengths and recognize each other's strengths. But also you also like know your significant other in so many different ways to where hopefully you can use all those all that secret information that kind of only to like I can pump her up and help her succeed more. Now like it goes the other way too. Like the pivotal moment that she's talking about earlier.
I didn't even tell it.
No, but it ended with like a case of strawberries just like getting smashed in my chest.
Just throwing it. It was like $50 that we didn't even have. It was like a flat of strawberries that were just gorgeous. And we were so mad at each other. And you said one thing that just flipped the switch. And I was just like, and then our GM at the time like peeked out the back door because he was going to ask us a question. Then he saw what was happening. And he just
did the
closed
Homer thingy, the Homer
straight into the bushes.
But overall, it's worked out pretty good. I mean, I would say the second spot was potentially part of that. Of we just need more room, more elbow room, and even then we've since then like divided kind of what we take care of.
Yeah, the roles.
Yeah.
What would you say is like how do you manage your guys' free time, like balance of life, of not just like restaurants, but also like not talking about restaurants? Because I have a partner and we both are in a business together. And, Pillow Talk is about what we think about the industry all the time. It's like, we would do things differently this way, or we like critique something that we saw and we're like, we would never do this or something like that. Like, how do you try to stay away from that? Like when you get home and you're with your kids?
Well, so we've like over the past little bit, we've had a thing where if somebody's name, like an employee's name, comes up in bed too many times, we have to address the problem.
Yeah.
I don't want their name in bed.
It sounds so funny.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's like this sacred place that I'm like, so many people,
Yeah.
other people have been in.
Yeah.
But so you realize when it is creeping in.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think a family kind of like changes it a touch, and it really puts a focus like on the house. But then if somebody needs to go out and just run to work real fast or whatever it might be, like we totally get it. The balance, I mean, we try to like make.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like binge and purge.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
Yes.
But so we try to make Sundays this like untouchable thing. Does that happen? Not all the time.
No.
Yeah. But I think you do feel when it like creeps in, and it's pretty like, we don't want it to creep in. So now on the flip side, like if we can find the time, like I would love to go to a bar and just like talk shop for an hour.
It's fun, honestly. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we are like all hooked on it.
Yes.
It's just like instant dopamine hits to remember how hard you went down last week, or, you know, like that Pat Sajak was in, or whatever it is that could be a cool restaurant story. Like talking about it is awesome, but just not all the time.
Yes.
And when you have kids and responsibilities and all that.
I honestly have dated so many cooks, and it made me laugh when I watched Battle of the Houses, because they were like,
Oh, God.
they talked about like dating in the restaurant.
Yes.
And I was just like, yeah, I dated a handful of people that I'm like, all we did was talk about work, and it sucked. And then I dated someone in another industry for a small moment, right around the time we just became friends. We were roommates at one point with like 2 other cooks, and we magically had the same days off for Mercantile. And so we would just spend time like going to IKEA and farting around, or like we'd go on friend dates and go eat dinner and like pick it apart and whatever. And I realized that we didn't really talk about work. He was like the first person in the industry. I was like, this is so cool. We talk about music all the time. Like, it's funny because we'll try to go to like 2 punk shows a year. And we went to one recently, and I'm like, I think I'm done for the year. Like, I'm so beat up. Yeah.
It's tiring to stand at concerts, and you're not just standing.
I mean,
You're jumping.
we're full on in the mosh pit.
Yeah,
and
that's
like
awesome.
but it's also like the kind of the same high you get from having like a banger night in a restaurant, but we're bonding over it in a different way. So yeah, I like going to punk shows with you.
What band did you guys see?
Destroy Boys.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, they're great.
Wow. It's really cool to hear those similarities to like my own life too, and as I'm getting older and we continue doing this thing that we love to do, it's just fun to hear like-mindedness, with that. We definitely try to, not talk about it all the time, but we're just so passionate about it. We're sort of like, wow, let's just continue talking. It's like, okay, shut up. Let's put on a movie. Let's go to bed now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, and it's just really cool, And we plan to open a restaurant some day in the future. Who knows when that will be? But yeah, and then just trying to have a balance of life, but also like figuring out what roles we both play in it is very important, because we deal with it all the time too. Like, I thought you were going to email that person. Oh no.
Right.
Oh, I know I didn't do it. I thought you were doing it. It's like, well, yeah,
I mean, even if we get better about it, I have so many like working lists. It's like napkin list, actual list, Asana, which is like digital list. And then I have like whatever. And then I'm just like flip flop between all of them. And then I still don't get it done. So I'm like, when will I lock in that I'll just get it done? Oh, we'll get there. Or not.
Where do you guys see yourselves going from here on out with your businesses?
I had a moment like yesterday in the bakery office, and I went to our now director of operations. She goes between both restaurants, and she asked me such a simple question, and she was like, how's it going? And I just started crying. And I was just like, all I want to do is work in my bakery, and any position, I don't even care. Any position in the bakery, I'll be the dishwasher. I don't care. I just want to be in the clubhouse, and I want to hang out with my kids, and I want to have a livable wage. And I just started crying because I'm like, when did this thing get so big. You know, I feel like I'm a octopus made out of like scrambled eggs. And when somebody asks me for something, all I offer is scrambled eggs. You know, I'm just like, and so to answer your question, you know, I think in this day and age, you can't survive as a, you know, middle-class family with kids in Northern California with just like one restaurant, right? Like we have to move the bakery because one, we're selling out at a place where it's too early in the day. But if we move into a bigger facility, it can't just be baked goods, right? It has to be breakfast. And then we talked about maybe adding dinner. And so, you know, consolidating all of your costs into this giant machine. And then we're also adding on like a couple side projects to like fill our cup, you know? And so the future when I was younger was never a small restaurant group. And now it's like kind of merging that way. And I'm not mad about it, but I think I'm like a house cat and having a hard time dealing with change.
I mean, where do we go from here? That's like, it's kind of just the beginning. And like all of this could go down in 2 seconds, which is the crazy part. Yeah, exactly.
Is it wood?
Yeah.
It's professionally installed wood. So let's say all this keeps going, then great. I think currently we like where we live. So, and a big part of where we live is like being, and honestly, for most people probably is like finding that sense of community. And it's awesome, like providing something for that community. And it, like, you know, it makes you feel wanted. And as long as there's like a line of customers, then we're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, I mean, not only is there like the businesses and like making sure that we can pay for, you know, our house and whatever else, but like also we have the crew of like, how can we, and I've been lots of places where like maybe a new restaurant will just pop up in the group just because like sous chef X is doing a really good job, but there's no space for him. So he's really passionate about butchery or whatever. So then all of a sudden this like nose to tail butchery small restaurant is like ran by sous chef X, where they were never going to open that without him. But then you invest in these people and maybe something super rad comes out of it. So I think, yes, for us, we like the community and all of that. And then we also love our crew and we want to try to provide enough possibilities there as well. Because yeah, we have 2 spots, but our crews aren't big. They're like 15 people each. So it's kind of like average small restaurant size, but there's only so many places to go as you raise through 15 people. Even if you start a dishwasher, like you can be president in like a year.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like as the landscape's changing, you know, in the restaurant industry and being in a small town, it's definitely has its perks. And then also, yeah, I can see that with like the cooks just like not really having anywhere else to go. Like once they've like mastered it, and like I just go to like SF or go to Los Angeles. Yeah, but that's awesome. I think empowering your employees is very important. You know, we had a guest on like last year, but he's a chef in the UK, Chef Ben Quinn, and he owns a bunch of restaurants there called Woodfire, I believe. And he basically flips his triangle upside down and he becomes like the dishwasher, and he empowers all his staff by giving them responsibilities and then working their way up through the company and then owning the company.
And then they can trickle down back to the dishwasher.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, I'm just here washing dishes now. But yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, I love hearing stories like this because it's definitely what we need to hear from, you know, business owners. Because, and then, you know, you guys were also cooks yourselves, you know, a long time ago. And to have someone that cares about you is very important. And, you know, I'd like to do the same one day when I'm a business owner as well.
I think we really try to like put so much into, and I mean, so times of, while we kind of came up from cooks to chef to owner, also the world completely changed while we were working hard doing that. So now even the cook, where when I was a kid, I got kind of nothing, but I was happy for nothing. And I'm not trying to be like a old man just yelling to get off my lawn.
Yeah.
But we all started kind of just like stoked to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And every day you learn something and you just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And the shitty part about it was that it sucked that you had zero money and like zero insurance and zero anything, but like
we were always like, that's just part of the job.
Yeah.
Right. And we were okay with it.
But somehow that was another awesome part of it,
Yeah.
which is, I can't explain that,
Yeah.
but
exactly.
so then,
Yeah. Kitchen pirate.
yeah, kitchen pirate. Exactly. But so we try, once we got on our feet, honestly, it was like maybe 9 months in, got benefits for everybody. And then like decided like what else we can do. And sometimes like I can't pay you the most, but maybe I can provide flexibility. Maybe you have a side hustle that like, oh, I need 3 days off because I do this other catering thing. Like, awesome. Take those 3 days. And then honestly, let's like flip you to 410s and, you can work the same amount, get the same amount done here and be able to spread yourself thin somewhere else.
Yeah.
For me, honestly, so we opened the bakery and I was working like 8-hour days, thinking like, all right, it's finally mine. We can all just work 8 hours. I can't get anything done in 8 hours. Like
No.
you put like a stock on and it's done in 8 hours. So then like you punch out and then like, okay, tomorrow I'll make the sauce. But no, like, I think like 10, 12 hours is kind of the like sweet spot for a work day, but also like, I don't want to break everybody's back. So it's like, I like more than an 8-hour day for our staff, but writing a 12-hour day on a schedule is too much. So I think that 10 hours is like a sweet spot.
Yeah. I think it's a good spot.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 8 hours is just like a dinner shift.
Yeah.
Like just like not even the prep part, just the dinner shift and then closing and that's it.
8 hours is like the active time,
Yeah.
but then you need a cushion on the top and bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys. Probably you've been waiting for me to ask you this question, but I want you each to tell me your favorite in the weed story from like your entire like history, not just like at Troubadour, Quail and Condor, but I'm sure you got some great ones.
I have one that comes to mind because when I was watching the podcast, I was like, man, what is mine? And so my internship when I was in pastry school, I had to really fight for this culinary culinary internship because it wasn't, it didn't match. But I was like, I want to be a pirate. I'm like, teach me. I don't want to just make fucking cakes all day. I'm not even a good cake decorator. But so I finally got this internship. It was called Vesta. It's still there in Denver. And they were known for like 40 sauces. Right. And it was like every entree had 3 sauces. It's kind of cheesy. And now it's cooler.
Yeah.
So no hate there. But so I was on Garmo and it's kind of like by the back door and it had its own little pass. There was like a bottom and then a top shelf. And we all got these Vesta branded water bottles that were blacked out. So you didn't actually know what was in there, but like, you'd put it up in the top pass and then a server, whoever was there, would fill it up with whatever you asked for. And it was like my first Friday. God, I'm like living it right now. I'm like disassociating right now and living it again. But I remember it was my first Friday service working solo. And we had these things called full Monties because we had either a cheese plate or, cured meats or the full Monty. And it was like 5 cheeses, 5 meats, all like the cheeses were sliced to order and it had all these accoutrements, like it was just a thing. And then I had like 7 of them in a row plus some other shit. And I was like, and some people didn't like blue cheese. So I had to remember which ones weren't blue. And I'm like trying to be organized, whatever. And they're yelling at me from like the top where the grill is. They call it the helm. And they're just like, intern, I have all this grilled bread. Are you ready? And I was like, yes, yeah. And I'm just like, slinging them out and they're fine. I'm doing well. And I finally put this black water bottle up and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for fucking lemonade right now. And I'm like, I need a lemonade. And I'm sucking them down and there's more tickets just like me. And I'm like, okay, got to plate all these fucking full Monties. And I'm like chugging these lemonades. I've gotten 3 refills at this point. It's been like 3 hours of full Monties. And I'm like, intern, how are you feeling? And I was like, my throat is scratchy. I don't know what's going on. And they were putting 2 ounces of hot sauce in every lemonade refill.
What?
I couldn't talk by the end of the night. I was like, have a good night, you guys. See you tomorrow. They didn't tell me that until the end of the shift.
Dang. Talk about
It
sabotage.
was kind of funny though.
All right. The one that like comes up strongest was when I was looking at moving to California. I saw 12 Days at Meadowood, and like, you know, they invite all these like cool worldly chefs, and there's this like super, it's camaraderie, it's community, it's all of these things. And I was like, I want to do that. So then fast forward, honestly, just the next year, and we were invited to cook there for 12 days. So, and this is for Single Thread. You can bleep out all of the names and numbers, but, or you can just leave it in. That's fine. But, so we weren't a restaurant yet, but we were like a ragtag crew, like just kind of doing like the same as everybody does, but doing pop-ups around, like maybe an investor dinner, maybe whatever. But so 12 Days was like the like culmination of everything that we'd been trying to do. So, we're invited there. We have our prep day. Everything's great. And it kind of like alternates courses. And so it's maybe like 10-ish courses. And we just like flip-flopped. And we get to this one course that I didn't prep it, I promise. But it was these frozen gnocchi that we fried in clarified butter. So nothing crazy, but I didn't clarify the butter. I didn't make the gnocchi. Like, it was all out of my hands, but I was like kind of handed this station.
I hate when that happens.
And then I like, and we had like a little fry thermometer. Everything was like should have been covered. And this butter that like the thermometer said like 200 degrees or something. And it was just like black and smoking. And I'm like, I don't think that thermometer works. And so I push that pot aside and bring another one up and kind of just like wing it.
Yeah.
And so I put these frozen gnocchi in, and like everyone just explodes. Every single one. And we brought them from home like they were prepped like or, you know, earlier that week. And they're just like just every single one exploding. And by that time, like I'm trying to like just troubleshoot and like maybe grab, okay, so the butter maybe wasn't clarified enough. So like that, and I'm trying to like piece it all together of maybe that the thermometer was off, but maybe it wasn't that off. Like maybe the butter just like will catch on fire with no heat. And so I'm asking them, like, you know, all the like cooks that, well, actually, you know what, rewind. 12 Days is always like a big day at Meadowood, or a big week, 2 weeks. And so all the cooks work like crazy for 2 weeks, and then they close for January and like peace out, can like just recharge. So that night we had so many cooks on our side, like that we brought as the restaurant, that Meadowood sent all their cooks home. So it was just us. And so it was just us and the exploding gnocchis. And they just keep exploding. And like it was like, maybe it was like the dish was spec'd to have like maybe 7. And I have to like count, and we brought maybe like 200 extra, like just in case.
Yeah.
But dude, they're just like just gone. And by the end of it, we were serving like maybe 3 half kind of seared gnocchi, and just like hammering it with white truffle, and like nobody noticed. It was like a speck, like Bermonte kind of thing, and 2 exploded gnocchis, and just like a pound of white truffle on every dish.
Oh shit.
It was rough.
Yeah. I've definitely been there when you get put on a station that's like prepped out, and it's not like yours, but you're just going to execute it. And you're like, man, I hope this is like works well, what you told me to do.
Oh, and everybody involved there that may or may not watch this, like we all know who each other was,
Yeah.
and they're all my great friends still. So it's awesome, but it was rough.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that sounds rough. Gotta love the in the weed stories, though. I mean, we all have them. We all just do it.
Shapes us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it shapes us for sure. Those are great, though. That's all the time we have for today. It was really fun to have you guys on the podcast. Thanks for traveling here from Sonoma County.
Yeah, awesome to meet you.
Yeah, it was great to meet you guys too. I think I'm gonna have to take a road trip pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's honestly cheaper to just fly.
Yeah, cheap to fly. Yeah,
It's like
but
$80.
I love driving, but yeah, sometimes driving over there just gets kind of crazy with all the freights. Yeah, but you guys have to drive there tomorrow.
Yeah, I gotta pick up our family piano.
Yeah, do you guys play piano?
No.
No,
No,
You
but
gotta, you gotta
YouTube
learn.
exists.
You gotta learn on YouTube.
I used to take
Yeah,
lessons, but
yeah.
yeah, we'll just YouTube lesson it for a second.
Yeah,
It's for the kids. I just want to play Van Halen Jump. That's
awesome. That's easy.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Make sure if you're ever in Sonoma County, go check them out at Troubadour Bread and Quail and Condor. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.